Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. Today we've got a community cast from Shetland Apache. He is going all in on the DAWI rush versus Beastmen. So we're looking at kind of a counter-rush situation here. Let's take a look. Wheeling around the pavilion here, we've got a couple miners with blasting charges, including the Ekron's miners. Up front, looks like Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, including Longbeards with great weapons as well. Grumbling Guard, Ungrim, Gotrek, and Felix. Yeah, more Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, just all the great weapons, to be honest, which is interesting. Definitely going to be trying to go after those Bestigor. Got Miners with Blasting Charges and Dragonback Slayers on the flank. As for the Beastmen, Razorgore Herds, yeah, there are Bestigor. We've also got two Cygor Summoners on chariots, and I believe Kazrak is also somewhere around here on a chariot. Yeah, Ungors as well, and some more Razorgores and Spears over on the side. So you can see both forces kind of lining up here. Dwarfs using their blasting charges in more of a defensive position here, but I'd imagine Shetland will pull them back, try and get them in a position to throw at some squishy Beastmen infantry. Even Bestigor will actually take quite a bit of damage from those blasting charges. You can see the Slayers also just kind of hanging back for now. And Shetland here does a really nice positioning move and kind of pulls his main force here that was a little bit overextended back. He's going to bring these other two miners up and kind of form a nice little force here. Meanwhile, he's got a push on the low ground with a bunch of additional reinforcements kind of trickling in behind. So he's going to be able to actually wrap up and around this side and almost get like a full surround on the Beastmen here, potentially. We'll see how this flank holds up. The Beastmen now pushing up and around the pavilion on this side, but blasting charges getting into position. So we'll watch as they unleash on these Ungor Raiders, on the Bestigor, of course, that are fighting in the front line as well. It's going to be a very, very bloody and atrocious fight here. Bestigor will trade, obviously, very well into all of these Dwarf infantry, but the Dwarfs will actually punch back reasonably well. Bestigor's lack of melee defense, only 24 melee defense, means that like even Dwarf Warriors at 25 melee attack can actually get pretty consistent hits against them. Looks like we're going to have a Cygor summon here. Thankfully, Ungrim, Gotrek, and Felix are right in the immediate area to try and get some support. Oh yeah. And here come the Dragonback Slayers as well, additional reinforcements coming up and around the side. The force up on top of the hill, though, is not doing too well. A lot of these miners now being occupied. The Dwarf Warriors got crumped pretty hard. They were able to do some good damage in return to those Bestigor, especially considering the cost differential there. But yeah, Ungor Spearman Herd being routed off here. The other Ungor Herds and Harpies not going to do a ton of damage, but they'll at least keep those blasting charges tied down. You can see the balance of power inflated by two Cygor summons here. There's still a lot of Dwarven infantry down on this low ground here. And in particular, the Dragonback Slayers, as long as they can avoid getting completely killed by Bestigors, Slayers are good against most things on Beastman's roster, besides like Bestigor specifically. So they'll do quite well in this engagement, and especially if the miners who have armor piercing, of course, in melee, they can then throw point-blank blasting charges apparently right into this blob here, and then all these units have AP, right? So they're all going to be doing relatively well at fighting Bestigor. But up on the high ground here, this DAWI force, unfortunately, just getting absolutely overwhelmed. The Harpies and the Bestigor, the chariots coming through. Goats going for rides. But the balance power is staying pretty even as this low ground force kind of resecures their position. Summon Cygor is going to be pretty much done with. Like a nice Vile Tide there to do a little bit of vigor refresh. Those Bestigor are tired. But yeah, all this infantry to help kind of give something for Gotrek and Felix and Ungrim to grind through. They have plenty of protection, so they can get at high-value targets and just blend up all the Beastmen units. We'll see how they do. Charging up the hill, trying to get engaged with these Bestigor. Bestigor have really good charge bonus, so getting counter-charged down the hill especially is going to be really tough. Charge bonus does apply a little bit extra downhill. I forget the exact values, but see the Dragonback Slayers chilling for the time being. They're going to get engaged by Ungors, which, I mean, Ungors 16 charge bonus, not bad, but the Dragonback Slayers will be able to beat down those Ungors with few problems, especially if the blasting charges come in and get some supporting volleys, which it looks like they are just about to do here. The Chariot's trying to keep them interrupted, but it does look like they're still going to get some blasting charges off onto the Bestigors up on the hill. There's some kind of gores. Here we go. Exploding gores. And yeah, the Harpies also still fighting here, just barely. Not really a lot of offensive potential from them. They're more here just to tie units down. But there's not a lot for them to tie down still. Most of the Dwarf units are just about done for. We've still got a few Dwarf Warriors fighting. The Dragonback Slayers, of course, still relatively healthy. And Felix having anti-large AP also helps quite a bit, obviously, against the Bestigor here. But it is quite the chaotic scene here. Ooh, some nice point-blank blasting charges right in the face of some more of those Bestigor, and you can see a lot of the Bestigor not doing too hot. Likely will just come down to chariots at this point. The Beastmen infantry is really not holding up very well. Yeah, Bestigor very strong in this matchup, but only 95 armor. I say only. It's enough that they'll take less damage from the explosions than, say, that Ungor herd, who just got absolutely destroyed. But they still will take significant damage from the explosions, so good stuff. Now it's a matter of dealing with these three chariot lords here, who are going to be an absolute menace. And there's still a few scattered, like pigs and stuff, but looks like we're going to have one more Cygor summon as well in the late game from these Bray Shamans here. Thankfully, there's 2 Hero Slayers here. And the Manling, of course. But it looks like they've got bigger fish to fry, trying to go after Khazrak himself. Get some good work done. Apocalyptic Vision there, helping to juice up the melee attack for the Razorgore herds. They're up to 48 melee attack. They do have pretty heavy weapon strength, so they should be able to make good contact on those miners in the meantime. But another wave of pigs coming in. We'll keep it nice and close as the squad fights Cygor here. Beautiful stuff. Game's absolutely gorgeous, and great positioning from Shetland as well. Just kind of use this as an anchor point, wheel up and around, and you know, get kind of two little engagements here. I don't know if that was necessarily his intention, but it ended up working out pretty well. The Beastmen have kind of turned the tables, though. A lot of units have come back from route, and it looks like that it's now the Dwarfs' turn to be mostly without support. But to be honest, the one unit you need supporting, which is the Dragonback Slayers, are still here and still relatively healthy. And this Summon Cygor is probably not too happy, I'd imagine. Yeah, it's just about to go down to the hero squad there, so we're going to fast forward a little bit through this mid-game, as there is some shenanigans with chariots chasing routing units off, which they should do. Now they're going to try and go after the Slayer Lords and the Slayers themselves, the Dragonback Slayers, but obviously they're going to have a hard time with that. The Spray Shaman Lord of Wild down to 82 hit points, and he goes down. Excellent stuff. Looks like there are a few more Beastmen units trying to reform here for one last glorious downhill charge. Here comes Khazrak and the lads, the pigs, the Harpies, the whole team. Fortunately, Gotrek, Ungrim, Felix, all standing right in the center. Get some righteous hits. And yeah, the pigs will be gone, the Harpies will be gone. That just leaves the pig chariots. Eventually, Khazrak takes 2 to the teeth, and that's pretty much it. But it does take a little bit of time here. Yep, and there it goes. So, very well played to Shetland. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. It's definitely an interesting dwarf build. No ranged units at all. Just all in on the melee. I mean, I guess you could count the blasting charges as ranged units in a sense. They're not necessarily real ranged units, but I mean, I definitely like the build quite a bit. Kind of counter-rushing is a valid strategy oftentimes against the Beastmen for factions, especially where they don't expect it. Dwarfs certainly is one. I mean, 99% of Dwarf players, I would say, go missile defense style builds, but definitely this offensive infantry rush can be very effective in certain situations, especially when your opponent's not expecting it. And certainly with this hero squad kind of acting as the center of this build, it definitely gives it a lot more potential, I think. It's interesting. I'm curious to see what you guys think down in the comments below. I know this is generally perceived to be a pretty tough matchup for the Dwarfs. And you can see why. I mean, both these chariots here, 168, 142 kills, 92, that's not including, obviously, any of the Cygors. 56 and 43 here for the Razorgore herds. I mean, the Bestigore ended up doing okay, but they actually didn't trade very efficiently with the Dwarf Warriors, the Longbeards, the Miners, and everything. 111 kills on the Dragonback Slayers, just so good in this matchup. 86 for the Grumbling Guard, 95 for the Ekron's Miners. They've got extra blasting charges, so that's pretty good. And how about 99 for some regular Dwarf Warriors? Good on you, lads. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.